Hi guys, how are you all today? I hope you all are doing great. So guys, could you just tell me if I'm properly audible and visible to you? All of you asking about yesterday, there was no class yesterday. Could you just tell me? So there was no class yesterday. So this is session number 112. So I hope you all are ready for it, and I hope you can see me and hear me properly. So I see a lot of people here. There's Shrishti, Rohit, Raj, Manas, Mridula, Bhanu, Harsha, Zohar. Okay, a lot of people, Janki. So a very good morning to all of you. Okay, I see some thumbs up. That means I'm properly audible. So are you ready for this session? Okay, President Trump says yes, and on the agreement by President, I think we should move ahead. Okay, once again, a very good morning to all of you. Guys, as you all know, my name is Mansi Anand, your mentor for competitive exams. And in this series called RBI 247, we try to cover different topics which can be of use to you if you are preparing for competitive exams, right? So, before starting with this session, I would like to ask you guys to subscribe to our channel. Till now, you must be knowing it can be of real use to you. It can provide you with access to a lot of good content. After that, you can also join our Telegram group, and in this group you can post all your doubts and queries. So do like and subscribe if you haven't done it till now, right? So are you ready for question number 1? Okay, here is your question number 1, which says dash is defined as agricultural production carried out according to an agreement between a buyer and the farmers, which establishes conditions for the production and marketing of a farm product or products. Let's see who answers this question correctly. I think it's a very simple question, was in news recently. Let's see who answers this question correctly. Okay, let me just put my phone on silent. Okay, yeah, it's fine. Okay, I see some answers. Some people are saying C, Manas says B, some more C's. I think a very simple question to start with. Okay, I see a lot of votes for C and 1 vote for B. Should we move ahead to the correct option for this question? Okay, a lot of answers by you people, and most of you are saying C is the correct option. So moving ahead to the correct option for this question, and yes, this option, the correct option is C, that is contract farming. I think it's very simple to guess. Even if you haven't heard about it, it's easy, because in statement it mentions there is an agreement, right? So obviously that leads us to contract farming. So if you remember, in May when the government came up with the relief package, the 20 lakh crore relief package, if you remember, they allowed farmers to sell their products in the markets to different types of buyers. Earlier they could sell them to a certain number of limited buyers, but after that government freed the farmers. And why did they do so? So that they can get a good price for their farm products. So most of you would be knowing about, जिसको हम हिंदी में आरती सिस्टम भी कहते हैं, जहाँ पर फार्मर्स जो हैं वो अपने प्रोडक्ट्स को बेचा करते थे बट लिमिटेड नंबर ऑफ बायर्स को, और ये बायर्स यूजुअली आपस में कोलैबोरेट करके exploitative practices पर उतर आते थे farmers के लिए. So this system was exploiting farmers somehow. They were not getting a good price for their crops, and in this combat, in this fight with buyers, usually what used to happen was sometimes the crop got destroyed, the perishable stuff that got damaged. So there was a lot of loss to farmers. Now government is saying that farmers can sell their products to different buyers also. So let's say there is a company which makes chips, which manufactures potato chips, and it needs potatoes for them, right, for that production. So they can come in and they can enter into an agreement with the farmer, okay, that we need this quality potatoes within this stipulated time period, and we are going to pay you this much amount. So there is an agreement beforehand, before even the production of the crop, right? Or there is a company which manufactures juice, it needs oranges or a certain kind of fruits, certain fruits for it. So they can enter into agreements with farmers. And farmers, if they have a lock-in price after the produce, they are not in a rush to sell their product so that their crops do not get destroyed. they know beforehand that okay, they are going to get this much price for their produce, right? And they can be certain conditions about the quality of the product as well, right? I hope now you get it. The essence of contract farming and why is it beneficial for the farmers. Although there are some critics as well, but I think we'll have to wait how to see how does it work, right? Okay. So Gun King, that's such a nice compliment. Thank you. Okay. So PM has recently launched 1 trillion fund to boost agriculture, provided a fund of 1 trillion on August 9, launched a fund, and in this fund, this money is going to be used for providing services to agriculture like post harvest management of their products, providing warehousing facilities to farmers so that they can easily store their products, easy packaging, and after that marketing of those products so that it is easier to sell them, right? So see, these are the farmer's job is to produce the crops, but the farmer lacks in the provision of these services. They do not have such resources that they can sell their product at a good price within the stipulated time without the crops getting destroyed. So that is why this is the main this is one of the major reasons that Indian farmers are in stress, right? So it is very important to provide such services support to them, which this fund is going to be doing. So scheme will provide better storage and warehousing facilities. Fund was launched with 1128 crore of new loans disbursed to more than 2200 cooperative societies. I hope we all are familiar with the meaning of cooperative societies. If not, please tell me in the comments. So PM transferred 17,000 crores to farmers under the PM Kisan Direct Assistance Scheme. So I hope we all are familiar with this scheme, PM Kisan Direct Assistance Scheme. If not, see, I'm going to tell you briefly that this is a scheme in which some direct cash transfers are being provided to farmers so that they can cope up with their immediate needs of cash. So do remember that here it is direct cash transfers. So you might have seen many economists currently stressing for providing cash transfers to people. Many economists like Dr. Rajan or Nobel laureates like Abhijit Banerjee and Esther Duflo have advocated, even Geeta Gopinath, they have advocated that provide cash to people rather than providing them subsidies on the goods, right? So this cash will give them emancipation. Emancipation means freedom to choose that what they want to spend their money on, right? After that, PM also mentioned that they have indulged into contract farming and Kisan Rail. So some more measures to help farmers. I hope we all are aware about Kisan Rail. So guys, if you are not aware, do give it a read. We can discuss it in the upcoming videos as well if you have any doubts about it. But first, I would like it if you would give it a read first if you're not aware about it, right? Okay, there is a question by Alok Sardar. What are policy rates? So basically, these are the interest rates that central bank decides. They are like, you can say that these are tools in the armory of the central bank. So central bank needs some tools. किसी भी central bank को अगर economy को control करना है तो उनको कुछ tools चाहिए. Policy rates वही tools होते हैं. ये एक basic indication है policy rate कि market में किसी भी चीज, किसी investment पे कितना return expected है. तो that is a basic risk free return. देखो, because we say that government bonds are the risk free investments. We associate government bonds with no risk. So this is the basic rate that if you invest in an investment like government bonds where there is no risk, so you are at least going to get this much of rate. That is the policy rate. So an indication of level of rates, a level of return that you are going to get on investment, right? I hope now you are clear with it. Although there are many rates like repo rate and after that reverse repo rates and some other also, I would suggest you can watch a video called RBI MPC that we have done under this series. It is going to help you to differentiate between different rates and how one is different from another, right? You can ask for its link in the video as well. So guys, are you ready for question number 2? Okay, moving ahead to question number 2 for today. It says, in respect to new reporting requirements for businesses, select the correct statement. So there has been some change in the reporting requirement of businesses, you have to tell what is that change. Let's see who answers correctly. Okay, a very good question by Srishti. What is subsistence farming? See, subsistence farming simply growing crops to sustain or survive on your own, or to just fulfill needs of your own family, not with the purpose of selling them in the market, right? So not not growing crops with any commercial purposes, right, in your mind. So just growing that much amount of crops that is necessary to feed your own family, that is subsistence farming, right? So there's a question by Unplugged Himalayan. Will Spotlight be enough? Yes, I think it's going to provide you with all the news that you need to know for phase 1. Okay. Let me move ahead to the answers. Okay. Most of the votes for B. Nilesh Sabu says C is the correct answer. Vinay just says B, C is the correct answer. Okay, I see most votes for B. Some of you are saying C as well, right? So let's move ahead to the correct option for this question. And correct option for this question is option B. So all those of you who answered as B, you guys are absolutely right. So now businesses have to report that how sustainable and responsible they are. See, businesses always used to report that whether they are following the rules or laws of the country or not. That is nothing new. But now they have to tell that what are the impacts of their actions or activities on the society. See, businesses dwell on society. If there is no society around them, if there are no people, no one to buy their products and services, how is a business going to flourish, right? That is why businesses have responsibility towards their society as well. Although there is a school of thought which thinks CSR, or the corporate social responsibility, we say that businesses should indulge in some charitable activities or some activities that have good impacts on the society. So some school of thoughts criticize this fact because they say that businesses are not responsible for society, right? But an accepted view in current times is that yes, they have to focus on their impacts, the impacts of their activities on society. That is why they have to report how sustainable and responsible they are, whether they are acting in a manner useful to the society, beneficial to the society, or detrimental to the society, right? So MCA set up a panel, expert panel, proposed a new regime for businesses to report how sustainable and responsible they are. This is in addition to reporting degree of compliance by them. As I told you, they always had to report whether they are following the rules or not. Obtain information about the impacts that businesses have on society. This information, if made public, can put pressure on corporates to take actions after thinking about the contribution they are making to society. So the major aim here, why is this new regime being thought upon? Because the main aim here is to put pressure on businesses that think before you act, right? Don't just think about profit making, think about the impacts that your actions are going to have. If you are a manufacturer, think about whether your production activities are going to pollute the environment, and if they are, then take actions for that. Try to mitigate it. We have always heard that industrialization leads to a lot of social cost which is not accounted for in business, in accountancy. No one while preparing the statements, the financial statement, no company says, okay, we have destroyed this much of forest, or we have polluted environment to this extent, right? But that is a cost that society as a whole has to bear. So it is important to look into these aspects also. This panel is going to be led by Gyaneshwar Kumar Singh, and see, this point is very important. So this information, the information that businesses are going to provide about their sustainability through business responsibility and sustainability report, this can be used to develop a green sustainability index, a business sustainability index for companies. So an index can be developed so that we can measure that how sustainable our companies are. So basically getting the sustainability factor into the major play, or getting them a step ahead, so that investors can also know that if I am putting my money into this company, whether it is going to have a good impact on society or not. or it is going to pollute the environment or not. So recently there has been sudden shift in investors. They try to invest in socially responsible companies or green companies, or who are concerned about their impacts, right? So this is not only something that businesses have to do as a charity or as just fulfilling a responsibility, but it can also impact their finances by impacting their goodwill, right? So goodwill is very important, because if investors just suspect that there is something bad going on with the company, they can actually lead to something bad, right? So I think we have learned about self-fulfilling crisis. That is why goodwill is very, very important, right? Okay, can we move ahead to the next question for today? So as your third question for today, in relation to faceless assessment scheme, select the correct statement or statements about DIN. Let's see who gets the correct answer. Simple question, 5 statements are given to you. You have to select the correct ones. Let's see who answers correctly. Let me just refresh for your comments. Okay. I'll give you a few seconds to read this question. Okay, till then there's a question by Shubham that wasn't EIA there for the same purpose. See, EIA, basic environmental impact assessment, we can say that the sustainability has a broader concept than EIA. EIA majorly focuses on environment, whereas sustainability and business responsibility is something which is in a broader sense. So if company is indulging into some bad practices, some unfair trade practices, they also come under the purview of responsibility, right? So it includes the purposes of EIA as well, but broader than that, right? Okay, moving ahead to the answers. Nilesh Sahu says A is the correct answer. Nilesh Suryavanshi says C. Prince says C. Most of you are saying C is the correct answer. C means 1, and you are saying that statement 1 and 5 are the correct answers. So guys, read the question properly. It says in relation to faceless assessment scheme. Okay, some more votes for C. Now I see some votes for D as well. Some A's, some C's. Okay, Rakesh comes up with E. Okay, I see a lot of variety in your answers. I don't see any trend moving. So moving ahead to the correct option for this question, and the correct option for this question is option E. So here we are talking about DIN in relation to faceless assessment scheme, which is not director's identification number but documents identification number. So statement 2 is correct, and apart from it statement 4 is correct. The correct option is E. See, DIN is nothing but just like, see, when you are in school, you are provided with a roll number, so that you have an identification in the system of school that okay, you are this roll number. The system knows you by that number. Similarly here, a documents identification number is being provided to taxpayer for communication services. See, you must all be knowing about faceless assessment scheme. If not, don't worry, we are going to discuss it. So under this scheme, it is being said that government wants to make the system of tax paying easy and accessible for the taxpayer, and for that obviously they need to communicate with the taxpayer, but they want to reduce human interaction. That is why they are going to provide them with an identification number. So this is not new. DIN has been not launched this year, so this is not new. So DIN is such an identification number that is provided to a taxpayer for communication purposes, right? That is why I told you, read the question in relation to faceless assessment scheme. DIN obviously stands for director's identification number also, but here we are talking about the FAS scheme which has recently come, right? So moving ahead, knowing a little bit more about DIN, prominently mentioned. So this is something which is going to identify the taxpayer, and it is going to be present in all communication that happens between taxpayer and the tax authorities. So it has to be prominently mentioned on every document that is transferred, like search authorization, summons, arrest memo, inspection notices. So any document that takes place. So there is also a provision wherein such documents can be issued without DIN, but that should happen only in exceptional cases. There are only a certain cases where if DIN is not present, then the operations can go as further. But in most of the cases, in general cases, DIN has to be present on every document. Validly generated DIN will be available on this website, CBIC website. After that, any person can verify authenticity of documents so issued by the department. See guys, here the main purpose is to stop the harassment of taxpayer by the tax official. So if if any notice comes to you without the generation of DIN, you have a point, or you have a point to doubt that this might not be authentic. So any communication that you want to authenticize, you have DIN for that purpose, that this DIN should be mentioned on that document, right? In case of inquiry proceedings, every assessee should verify this DIN and identify where proceedings are genuine or merely harassment. So you must have seen in movies also that some tax officials just barge into some politician's house and saying that they belong to a tax department and there is going to be a raid, right? So to authenticize such activities, DIN is going to be there, right? So this is about DIN. Here you can see the format of DIN composition. As I told you, it's a 20 digit alphanumeric code. So first 4 okay, first 4 stands for the calendar year in which documents are being issued. After that, the next 2 digits stands for the month in which document is being issued. Then there is ZCDR, that is Zone Commissionerate Division Range, basically defining territorial jurisdiction, and after that some random number. So this is basically a composition how a DIN is generated, right? So I think we can move ahead to the next question for today. Moving ahead to the 4th question, and the question says, recently government expanded the faceless assessment scheme to all taxpayers. In this regard, dash is applicable from 14th August and dash is going to be applicable from September 25. You have to identify. So basically this scheme, this comprises on 3 major pillars, and here in options 3 major pillars are given to you. You have to identify the correct option when which is going to be applicable, right? Moving ahead. Sorry, I am waiting for your answers. Okay. So you guys are absolutely right. I was talking about special subbis. Okay, I am waiting for your answers. Let's see who answers correctly. Let me just refresh the comments. So, Dart Alex, considering your statement, see, it's very difficult because many a times I don't even remember when I have read something, right? So question, okay, when I form, I have the notes prepared for it, obviously, but sometimes what I do is combining different articles on different dates when I think we can combine this into one question and there is no need for other questions. So even I don't know that which article is combined into what question, right? So it is very difficult to discretely identify those articles. So I think a better way would be that you read newspaper on a regular basis. The questions are basically from Mint. I think anyone who reads Mint religiously, follows Mint religiously is able to answer most of the questions, right? So the best part would be to read the newspaper religiously, and if you have any doubts in any particular article, you can tell us and we can refer to that article. Many times we take articles and discuss about them in which people face problems, right? Because it is very difficult to discretely identify that from where I am making the question. Sometimes I just combine things, sometimes I take things from my own notes, from my when I used to study those notes, my teacher's notes, I don't know. So basically, the point is no discrete source, right? So it's better to keep up with Mint and other business newspapers, right? I hope that answers your question. Okay, lot of answers. I see some votes for C, some votes for, okay, I see some tilt towards C. No, after that it changes. C, E, A. C, E and A are the answers, right? Okay. So moving ahead to the correct option. The correct option is C. So all those of you who answered as C, you guys are absolutely right. So you must be knowing about the faceless assessment scheme. Under this scheme, there are three pillars, major pillars that PM talked about while expanding this scheme. Basically, scheme was launched last year and now it has been extended to all the taxpayers. So the three pillars are, first of all, faceless assessment. What does it mean? That all the transactions or all the activities that takes place while a taxpayer files its income tax return, and after that it is verified by the authorities and they maintain that database. So basically all that assessment has to be majorly faceless without any human interaction. So why do you think government is keen on going faceless? Would any one of you cite a reason for that? Okay, so this was the first pillar. Till you cite a reason, let me move on to the next ones. The next that PM talked about is the taxpayers charter. Basically, it's a document containing the responsibilities and rights of a taxpayer. So all the ways in which the tax department is accountable to the taxpayer. Basically taxpayer की क्या responsibilities है और क्या rights हैं वो इस taxpayers के charter में आते हैं. Simple. After that, the third part is faceless appeal. Now what is this faceless appeal? Let's say if a taxpayer is not happy or not satisfied with any order that has been given by the tax department, they can appeal against it, and that appeal can also be faceless. It need not necessarily involve human interaction. So this faceless appeal is going to be applicable from September 25, and assessment is applicable from the date of launch itself, right? Here you can see the option is C. Correct option is C, right? So these are basic three pillars. Let's see who has answered regarding the rationale behind faceless assessment. So Janki says faceless assessment encourages taxpayer. Okay, one very good point, that it makes tax paying a very simple and easy procedure for the taxpayer, so they are more inclined, more incentivized to pay their taxes honestly. Rituraj, I would like to tell you that it's perfectly fine. Many people from engineering backgrounds, they opt for these competitive exams and clear them with flying colors. So I think I can read your message if you post it even once, right? There's no need to just spam other people. One very good point is given by Shubham, to reduce red tapeism. Very good point. Usually, see, we are not unfamiliar about how many times businesses are harassed by tax officials. They just barge in and tell the businesses to pay this much amount as bribe, or they are going to be put behind the business persons. They are going to be put behind bars. So we are not saying that tax officials are bad or something, but we are just saying that there is Indian taxpayers, they face a problem of harassment by tax officials sometimes. That is why the process is being digitized in faceless form, so that if no human interaction is involved, no harassment can take place, right? So to save taxpayers from that harassment, and obviously if that harassment is taken out of the system becomes clean and efficient for the taxpayer. Also, one thing that PM thrusted upon was placing trust on taxpayer. Don't say that taxpayer is not paying the taxes adequately, but place trust on them so that they can and provide a clean system to them so that they can fulfill their responsibility. Because India being such a huge country, being such a populous country, our tax base is really less, and we pay most of our taxes in the form of indirect system. I hope you know the difference between direct and indirect. If not, you can tell me, right? So we want to increase the direct tax base as well, so that more money comes to the government in form of direct taxes, not only indirect taxes, because the burden of indirect taxes has to be borne by everyone equally, be it a poor person or be it a rich person. So they are not progressive in nature, which direct taxes are, right? Okay. Moving ahead, I think we have learned the major features. Okay, the major features involve, first of all, a central for scrutiny. First, earlier what used to happen, the discretion of tax official was involved. If he wants, he can go to a particular business or pick up a particular taxpayer and scrutinize and investigate taxpayer, right? So टैक्सपेयर जो टैक्स ऑफिशियल है उसकी मर्जी इन्वॉल्व होती थी, तो वो चाहता था तो एक पर्टिकुलर टैक्सपेयर को इन्वेस्टिगेट कर सकता है, और नहीं चाहता था तो नहीं कर सकता है, या समवन ही हैज़ अ गुड रिलेशनशिप विद उसको इन्वेस्टिगेट ना भी करे, राइट? बट हियर अब नाउ व्हाट द सिस्टम इज सेइंग दैट वी आर गोइंग टू रैंडमाइज द प्रोसेस, दैट the taxpayer for scrutiny is going to be picked up really randomly by computer system. So no discretion involved, no will of the tax official is involved, right? So that makes the process more fair. And territorial jurisdiction का system भी थोड़ा सा कम हो गया है. That means one official that has a particular region or a particular territory, now the system is not there. They cannot impose their will. The systems are going to be random, as you can see here. Abolition of territorial jurisdiction, which means taxpayer may belong to one city, but ITR may be assessed in some other city through random selection of computer. So it doesn't matter whether they have good relations with the tax officials or not. Identifies the officers deciding the appeal will remain unknown. So the officers, they do not know the taxpayer who they are assessing. That is why there is no involvement of, so the chances of corruption is less. Team based assessment and team based review. Central issuance of notices with document identification number, as I told you, DIN, it has to be there for the identification of taxpayer. No physical interface and no need to visit the income tax office. So guys, I hope now you see how randomization of things, how randomization of scrutiny, it leads to lesser opportunities, lesser scope for corruption, right? Okay, here is your last question for today, and let's see who answers correctly. Based on faceless assessment scheme, select the following which are not an exception to faceless assessment scheme. So you have to select the options which are not exceptions. So do try to answer it carefully. You don't have to select the ones which are exceptions, but the ones which are not the exceptions, right? Let's see who answers correctly this question. Okay, Shubhashri answered that this is going to build trust among taxpayer. Perfectly valid. So Abhishek has posed a very interesting question. Abolishing entire income tax. I think I cannot give my view until and unless I have read a lot about it. So, but till now, I think it's very difficult to think about a system sorry, where income tax is not there, because I think it is the responsibility of everyone who makes income. Because how do you earn your income? You earn the income through the system that the country has provided you. So obviously you have got some responsibility towards the country as well. And if the system of taxes, income taxes is abolished, I don't think government would be able to make it up, make all their revenues, all their expenses only by the indirect taxation system. So it's very difficult because many rich people in the country, they contribute so much towards direct income, towards the income of the government, right? So unless and until we do a little research about it, little research about countries, whether some of them any of them they have followed the system or not, so without research I think we cannot give any opinion, right? There are many aspects to be considered. Okay, moving ahead to your answers. Nikhil Sharma says E, Sanchit says C, Zohar says E. Okay, I see votes for D or E. Shrishti says A, Harsha says A. Okay, I see a lot of variety in your answers. Moving ahead to the correct option for this question, and the correct option is E. That means all of them are the exceptions to faceless assessment system. So no option from these is not an exception. So all of them are exceptions. I hope the question doesn't confuse you too much, and now you are going to get it. That happened. Just give me a second, guys. Okay. Yes, we were talking about the exceptions. So none of them is not an exception. All of them are an exception. So what does it mean to be an exception to faceless assessment scheme? That means in these matters there can be human interaction involved. They are outside the purview of faceless assessment scheme. So in these matters there can be involvement of interaction with tax officials, because there are some serious matters. So be it some serious frauds. How can you investigate some serious fraud without human interaction? It is very difficult. So randomization process, scrutinizing, that all, the operational part is obviously possible through the digitizing methods, but it is very difficult to conduct investigation in such serious matters without human interaction. That is why they have been put as an exception. Major tax evasion, sensitive search matters can relate to national sovereignty as well. International taxation, and after that the matters related to black money property and benami property. So these all are the exceptions, right? Okay, exceptions mean in these matter investigation will involve human interaction, and I think we have all learned about this. People centric, how the system is people centric, public friendly, the faceless assessment system to mitigate the process of tax harassment by corrupt officials, the process of randomization, and the objective to increase the tax base. We have discussed about all this, except all these points. So guys, these were the 5 questions for today. I hope these questions benefited you in some sense. And before ending the session, I would like to discuss one thing. In the last session, I think many of you were having a problem in a question where we were asking that how so there was a point where I mentioned that if a central bank hikes interest, we read in theory, the first and foremost relation that we read is that when interest rates are increased, that leads to bringing of money into the country. And why is it so? So you guys were right in saying that might lead to problems for the businesses. They might not be able to expand because the credit is expensive, the money is expensive, right? And that might lead to that might mean a deterrent to foreign investors. But see, the basic policy rates or the interest rates that central banks control, they give you an idea or estimation of the reward that you are going to make on investments. That is why if central bank increases the interest rate, that means they are expecting more to be made out of investment. They are expecting more rewards, right? That means better option for investors who are going to put the money into your country. That is why investors from developed countries, they like to put money into the developing countries where the interest rates are considerably high, right? So that is the basic relation. After that, we can draw many implications like you guys mentioned in the comment, but the basic relationship says that, right? So I hope now your confusion is clear regarding the basic topic, basic relationship between interest rates and the interest of foreign investors in the country, right? So do consider that fact, that these interest rates, they signify what reward is going to be made on investment. So if interest rates are decreased, that leads to an outflow, and an increment means an increased flow into the country, right? Okay, so guys, this is it for today. I hope you guys learned something new. I'll see you tomorrow with some new information, and till then, take care of your health and keep your studies going on, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for being here.